Welcome to the channel. My name is meteorologist Ted Keller, and when the severe weather outlooks become a daily routine or they become significant, I start producing this particular video. And we certainly have a multi-day event coming up, and also the Storm Prediction Center has pulled a surprise Day 7 outlook, which is really significant. When they start talking about severe weather confidence 7 days away, that would be Tuesday of next week. That's interesting. That just tells me that the confidence is building that the pattern will support severe weather. Now that may move around a little bit, but the fact that it's there is pretty significant, and we'll talk about that toward the end of this video. Right now we've got more pressing issues here. This is the infrared satellite loop for the United States. And you can certainly see in terms of thunderstorms, the most active weather is right in the core here, right in the four corners of Arkansas, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Missouri. And we will focus in on that area here in just a second. The overview, this is what the 500 millibar flow looks like, or will look like. This is actually model data at noon today, and it shows a short wave. So at the 500 millibar level, these are winds. And what you're looking for severe weather is a wind field that will support supercells. So you need to have a certain wind speed at that level. And we have achieved that here. If you see that purple color we're in, that's pretty good. So a supercell is just something that really is known for producing any mode of severe weather, hail, wind, or a tornado. So we've achieved that. And what I mean by shortwave is that if you just take a look at, I'm not even going to draw that, I'm just going to circle this. That's how big that is. And compare that to something that like this, that's what's developing here. And on future maps I show you here in just a second, you'll see the clear difference. So this is really, a lot of times they call this the sacrificial shortwave, because really what this does is it allows moisture to come up ahead of it. But it is so small, it doesn't send a cold front diving into the Gulf, which is where our moisture supply, hence instability, comes from. So in other words, this is helping to set up this. So anyway, just a little lesson there on how the dynamics of the atmosphere work. Anyway, here's the, again, model data for noon, but we have this stationary front kind of draped right over Springfield, where I'm broadcasting from. And it extends eastward over to just north of Evansville and Louisville and down into the Oklahoma City, Wichita Falls, eventually Midland, Texas area. The colors on here are temperatures, and of course you can see the winds. So yeah, we are looking at a fetch of winds out of the south that is helping to bring heat and humidity into this zone right here. What zone are we talking about? Well, here is the Day 1 outlook from the Storm Prediction Center. I normally load these into a special program, but because they changed the way they do categories now, which is really neat, they have new hatched areas at SPC, but I don't think the people who produce my GIS stuff have gotten the memo yet because it's broken. But anyway, this map will work just fine. So we have a slight risk. That's a 2 out of 5 level area from Dallas right up through northwest Arkansas. Again, I'm broadcasting, remember, right on the edge of that slight risk area. And this was extended yesterday and is included again today up into southern Illinois. There is a tornado risk with this, and it's a 2% area. Which again, not all severe weather outlooks have tornado risks. Actually, most of them do, but not always early in the season. But this one definitely has a tornado risk that almost mirrors the map I just showed you. If we look at some of the other stuff like Nadocast, it pretty much verifies. They actually have the next color level up about a 3% chance in some of those areas, in just little pockets. But you're clearly seeing northwest Arkansas, extreme southern Missouri, southeastern Missouri, especially later on toward evening, has probably the best chances for a tornado. Not real great, but definitely worth talking about. And if we look at CSU, it pretty much has a more of a broad brush approach to this. It extends it more over into southern Ohio and a little more northward into Missouri. And again, that is if it's green, it's a 2% risk. And there's a pretty good hail probability here. That goes from southwest Missouri, northwest Arkansas, down almost to Dallas, and wind a little more confined, but right in that four-corner area I mentioned earlier between Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, and Arkansas. Here's the radar this morning, just to give you an idea of what's going on. These storms here have not been severe yet, but I think I did see at least one severe thunderstorm. Yeah, there it is right there, one severe thunderstorm warning. So this is the kind of situation during the day where we just have to really watch and look at and see if the clouds break and we get more heat developing here than maybe the models are suggesting or that we thought would happen. That would just increase the instability out here where that slight risk is area. So it's worth watching. And for folks in the Ozarks, which is probably almost everybody, Springfield might get some hail. Southwest Missouri, the tornado threat is southeast of us as it stands now, more in this area here. And maybe this afternoon and again into the evening hours moving over into the Boot Hill. Here's the simulated radar, and this is the HRRR radar for that time period going through midnight tonight. And if you see the darker red, obviously that's a bigger storm. Also, if you look carefully, if you see anything that has a little tail on it, that is indicating that this model is seeing rotation in the storm. So there was one right there moving towards southeast Missouri. Nothing that really shows up in the bulk of southwest Missouri or northwest Arkansas. But again, this is only a model. So again, keep in mind that we will get some supercells, rotating cells, which have a much higher probability of producing some sort of severe weather. So let's move ahead now. And this is the 500 millibar forecast for tomorrow, which is Thursday noon. That shortwave that's affecting this area today has moved to here, so from Chicago down to Kentucky. Although it's running away from the moisture and instability. And so this area is not under the same threat as this area is today. Now you clearly see this is a much bigger system, a sharper system, a more energetic system that's moving into the Four Corners area by noon tomorrow. And the winds out ahead of it right in this area is what we're going to focus on. So here is the Storm Prediction Center's outlook, and it has that slight risk again, 2 out of 5 risk from around Dodge roughly, southward, including Lubbock and Amarillo, and probably Midland, Texas too, and then western Oklahoma, all under the risk for thunderstorms tomorrow. Again, notice that first shortwave, just general thunderstorms are forecast for that area. And the tornado risk is a little more concentrated, and it does include Lubbock and Amarillo, but the higher risk, the 5% probability, is in that area just east of those areas and maybe a slight sliver of Oklahoma. Just being the plains, this tornado threat, well, first of all, it is higher than today's. We have a 5% area. And the percentage means 5% chance of a tornado within a 25-mile circle. Basically, you just draw around yourself. And that's more of a traditional tornado area. There's something about the plains and geography is involved in this too that allows winds to back more out of the southeast as we get toward evening. There's some geographical features like the Cap Rock in there too. So again, that's something to be watched on Thursday for sure. If we look at CSU's version of that, they do paint in a little bit of a 5% area there in the panhandle of Texas, and the hail threat is pretty high, not much of a wind threat with those storms. Now, you probably all know about Friday, so let's look at the setup for Friday. This is a very energetic jet stream flow here. Now, I will say that when you look at long wave troughs like this and short waves embedded in them, this is a negatively tilted or a positively tilted trough. So a lot of times you get line segment thunderstorms that develop in this, and they're certainly capable of producing severe weather and tornadoes too. And then this is a little short wave that's rounding the bend of this. So this is actually the highest wind that's affecting this area. So as you might expect, we're going to be watching this area right here, and that's exactly what the SPC, actually even yesterday they outlined this. They changed the way they do it from day to day. So once Friday became the day 3 outlook, they changed the way they think of it. Before that, if it's day 4 through 8, they only give it a 15 or 30% probability. Now we are able to put it on the level 3 out of 5 enhanced chart. Okay, so that includes Kansas City, Wichita, Joplin, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, all the way down to the Red River Valley is now an enhanced risk of severe weather. And when we're in the season, if we're starting to see enhanced risks start to show up for sure. Now, at day 3, they don't put a tornado probability on this, but I can show you what CSU is looking at. They're looking at a kind of a general 2%, which is green. Notice that up in Wisconsin and Michigan, there's a little 5% risk area there. So that's interesting. Large swath of hail. and a large swath of wind to go along with that. So in this situation, tornadoes are certainly, I think, going to happen with this. Whether they'll be numerous or not, this isn't the best setup for a tornado outbreak, but it's not impossible either. And they would be embedded in a line segment almost certainly. There might be a few initial supercells that form on the western edge of this area late on Friday afternoon, maybe even earlier than that, actually. But it's just something that, the fine tuning on that will certainly be known much more, let's say tomorrow, the day before, and I'll be able to report that for you. Now, let's just go on real quickly and show you that this system does move into the northeast on Saturday with the CSU Outlook pulling the trigger on that, but SPC not putting that in an Outlook area yet. Sunday's a pretty quiet day, just far southwest Texas, not much to worry about there. Monday, some signs again, just by looking at this, it tells me that moisture and instability are trying to come back up into this area, and that sets me up for the final outlook map, which is the Storm Prediction Center's Day 7 outlook, and it includes a really large area of Oklahoma, Texas, Arkansas, Missouri, and Kansas, and again, for folks living where I broadcast here, Springfield, definitely in the heart of that. Now, there is time for that bubble to move around, but again, just its existence tells me, and I'll show you this map here, compare that with what CSU is doing, and they have a 30% probability showing up in a small area there on I-70. Again, that kind of detail is lost at Day 7, but the general parameters, I think, are going to be there. And just one more final set of maps here. This is the supercell composite and generated by Northern Illinois University, where I got my degree. And, this is for the next week, essentially. So it pretty much sums up or averages out what I just showed you, and, so it backs up a lot of this, especially this outbreak, it looks like on Thursday. Looks pretty significant because that's probably the only day that'll be generated. And then on the next week after that, the 11th through the 17th, suppressed down to coastal areas of Texas, central Louisiana. But this is the one I really wanted to show you, 18th through the 24th. The scale is off the roof here. The percentages are very high for that period here, and that does not include that Day 7 one, but it does kind of give you a guideline of what might happen the second half of March.